Institute, fully 70% of Salvadoran immigrants here have limited English proficiency. There are, of course, exceptions to that, but overall, it's a badly educated group that comes here illegally. That might not have been a big deal 100 years ago when a humming industrial economy needed workers for its factories, but our factories are closed, long closed. Technology is now in the process of eliminating millions more blue-collar jobs in America. And the last thing we need is more low-skilled immigration. Any economist can tell you that. We can't even take care of our own low-skilled workers. Hundreds of thousands that are now sleeping outside tonight and every night. They're homeless. As for assimilation, you've been to Miami recently? But don't take our word for it. Here's what Pew's research says. Fully 95% of American Hispanics, according to Pew, quote, say it is important that future generations of Hispanics living in the U.S. be able to speak Spanish. Even by the third and fourth generation, about half of Hispanic parents here still speak English, rather Spanish, to their children. That's not immoral, obviously, but it's definitely not assimilation. Shut up, says MSNBC. We don't want to hear the facts. We need the votes. Be quiet, or we'll shout you down as a thought criminal. Raul Reyes is an attorney and a columnist, and he says Kelly's remarks were somehow unacceptable. But I don't know how you can say that, Raul, since they're strictly speaking true. I mean, I'm citing UN numbers. What he said is right.
Right. Well, to me, in my view, Kelly's statement, we have to look at the whole of it in context. And in that sense, it is factually as well as philosophically problematic. Factually, look, he starts off by saying that all these people who are coming in through the southern border, that they are not all MS-13. Yes, that's true. He says they're not all, going to commit crimes. That is true. And that is provable by various studies and statistics on immigrants and criminality. Then he goes to then his statement that these people who are coming in, that immigrants are not, current waves of immigrants are not assimilating into the United States. And that is not true. Now, you mentioned this Pew study talking about how Hispanic parents, grandparents believe it's very important for their children and grandchildren to speak Spanish. And that is absolutely correct. That same study finds that just like every other wave of immigrants into this country, these Latino immigrants, the first generation, yes, by and large, they speak Spanish. Parents tend to be bilingual. By the third generation, the Spanish is no longer the dominant language.
Raul, since you're wading into the deep end of the
so that pretty much lines up with what past waves of immigrants have done.
Since you're throwing facts around, you're kind of the deep end of the fact pool here. What percentage of households in California right now speak Spanish at home? Do you know?
Offhand, no, I don't. But I think there's a healthy number of Spanish that are bilingual.
Slow down. Let me tell you. Over 40.
Right.
So that's not assimilation. Again, I'm not against speaking Spanish. I'm not against bilingualism. What I'm saying is that's the opposite of the way we have always done immigration in the past, in which we say to new immigrants, you must adopt our culture and our language, and you have to do it thoroughly. We're not doing that now. So it's not assimilation. You didn't address what he said about education levels because it's demonstrably true. People who come over our southern border have lower education. Okay, so but why in a post-industrial economy when blue-collar jobs are going away, why wouldn't we only admit software engineers or people who have skills that we need now? What are we doing?
Okay. You and I think we have different ideas. So, different viewpoint on assimilation. I personally think there's nothing wrong with people speaking Spanish or being bilingual in whatever language they want at home. In this instance, what John Kelly was talking about, he was talking about the jumping off point for this conversation was this influx of people at our southern border, why they're implementing a zero tolerance policy for these migrants, and in the process having a procedure where we will be the U.S. government will be separating women from children.
Please answer my question. No, excuse me. No, excuse me. No, then please answer crisply. Why would you, at a time when blue-collar jobs are disappearing, import people with lower education levels than native-born Americans? Why wouldn't you import people who can do the jobs that we need done, not the jobs that are going away? It's really simple.
There's 2 points here. Number one, because U.S. unemployment is at a historic low. I believe it's a 17-year low. Hispanic unemployment is at an all-time low. African-American unemployment is at a historic low. So our economy does have room to grow, and immigrants are the people who can drive parts of our economy. But second, this is the point I was trying to make about Kelly's comments in the context. What the discussion is about, we have to go back to the law. Our asylum law makes no provision for what level of education people have, whether or not they can speak English, what the parameters of how many people we're going to allow under asylum. It just involves a credible fear test and whether
you don't care, actually. You don't. I've reached a conclusion. You don't care whether this is good for the country, whether it's good for its economy, whether it's good for our culture. You just don't care because you're totally ignoring the central point. Technology is destroying a lot of jobs. The people we're importing right now can't do the new jobs. You don't care. You don't care. You just blow right past it. No big deal.
No, well, what I'm saying is I would go back to the law in this context, which is our asylum law, and that says that these people who are coming from Central America, they have the legal right, even though they are unauthorized
They have the
migrants,
legal right.
They have the legal right
as foreign citizens
to present themselves to Border
They have
Patrol
that.
and
What
apply
about my
for-
right as an
for
American? All
asylum.
right, we're out of time.
Thank you.
Raul. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
A Belgian political party wants